All right, welcome everyone. In this session, we're going to do something a little different. We're not here to just learn a few phrases in Mandarin. Instead, I want you to think of this as a kind of linguistic autopsy. We're going to treat language as an artifact, something we can dissect to reveal the culture, the history, and the logic that's embedded deep within its structure. So, let's begin. Here they are. These are our source texts for today. 3 sentences that look, well, pretty simple, right? These are my parents. I have an older brother and a younger sister. And this is my home. But I want you to resist the urge to see them as simple. These aren't just phrases, they are keys. Each one unlocks a different chamber within the vast architecture of the Chinese language, and each one reveals fundamental structures and a unique way of seeing the world. So here's our roadmap for this exploration. We'll start with a big picture, the macro view. Then we'll zoom right into the micro details of grammar and characters. From there, we'll connect those mechanical building blocks to the living, breathing cultural context they come from. And finally, we'll bring it all together with some practical application and, of course, pronunciation. Okay, let's dive in. Our foundational principle today is this: language is a mirror. It doesn't just describe reality, it reflects the culture's unique perception and organization of that reality. Every single phrase, no matter how basic it seems, is a data point, just packed with information, if you know how to read it. Think of every sentence we look at as a blueprint. We're not just translating words, we're deconstructing the very architecture of thought behind them. Our goal here is to move beyond the what, the simple meaning, and get into the why. Why is it structured this way? Why was this particular word chosen? Answering those questions is the crucial step that takes you from being a speaker to having a genuine linguistic understanding. And now we get to the core of our analysis, decoding the building blocks. We're going to systematically dismantle these sentences, piece by piece, and examine the fundamental grammar and vocabulary. This is where we lay the foundation for everything else that follows. Let's start with the core structure, the absolute skeleton of the sentence. And for any of you English speakers out there, this should feel immediately familiar. Subject, predicate, object. Take a look at the example. Je, which means this, is our subject. Shi, the verb to be, is our predicate. And what the jia, my home, is our object. This parallel syntax is a really comfortable and, frankly, very welcome entry point for learners. Now, let's zoom in on one tiny but incredibly powerful character, de. I want you to think of this as the grammatical glue of Mandarin. It is one of the most common characters you will ever see, and its main job is to signal possession or describe something. So as you see here, you take wa, meaning I, you add de, and it becomes my. It's a simple, incredibly consistent rule that you're going to see over and over and over again. Okay, this slide right here highlights a profound difference in worldview. In English, we have this handy catch-all term, sibling. In Mandarin, there's no such single word. It just doesn't exist. The language literally forces you to be specific about 2 things, age and gender. You see, you don't just have a brother, you have an older brother, Gogo, or you have a younger brother, Didi. This isn't just a vocabulary quirk, everyone. This is a structural demand for precision when it comes to family hierarchy. All right, now let's do a little linguistic archaeology. Look closely at the character jia. It's basically a pictograph, a little window into ancient China. As the table shows, the top part, the radical miao, is a stylized picture of a roof. And below it, the bottom radical, sh, is the character for a pig. Now, why a pig? Well, in agrarian China, a pig was a vital asset. It was a symbol of wealth, of sustenance. So a pig under a roof didn't just mean a shelter. It was the very definition of a prosperous, established home. You see, the history of a culture is literally etched into its characters. This slide demonstrates the really elegant logic of compound nouns in Mandarin. Many complex concepts are built by combining simpler, more elemental ideas. So here, you take the character for father, fu, and the character for mother, mu, and you just join them together to create fumu, the word for parents. It's a transparent and logical system that lets you start to deduce the meaning of new words once you know the basic components. Okay, this brings us to a concept that often challenges English speakers, measure words. In English, we just say, one brother. Simple. In Mandarin, you must insert a classifier or a counter between the number and the noun. The most common, all-purpose one is ge. So you don't say 一个哥哥. You have to say 一个哥哥, which literally translates to something like one unit of brother. You have to count things in their designated units. And I have to stress, this is a non-negotiable rule of Mandarin grammar. So we've examined the what, the grammar, the vocabulary, but now we get to ask the really interesting question, why? Why is the language structured this way? And the answer lies in that profound connection between language and culture, which brings us to our third section. Let's just pause on this question for a moment. Why this mandatory specificity? Why can't you just say brother or sister? What does this linguistic constraint tell us about the values of the culture that created it? I mean, the language is forcing you to make this distinction. The real question is, why is that distinction so critically important? And here's our answer. The language is a direct reflection of centuries of Confucian social structure. This philosophy emphasizes things like defined roles, social harmony, and most importantly for our purposes, filial piety and respect for your elders. Your relationship with and your expected behavior toward an older brother, Gaga, is fundamentally different from your relationship with a younger brother, Didi. The language actually encodes this social contract into every single conversation you have about family. Let's circle back to ja for a second. In English, we often make a distinction between a house, which is the physical building, and a home, which is more of an emotional concept or the family inside it. In Mandarin, the single character ja covers both seamlessly. It is the physical place and the family unit, and they are inextricably linked. So when someone in a Chinese-speaking context asks about your ja, they might be asking about your house, or they might be asking about your family, because linguistically and culturally, they're really the same concept. So, why is this so critical for you, whether you're a student or planning to work in a Chinese-speaking environment? Because this isn't just academic trivia. Using the correct term for an older sister versus a younger sister is a fundamental sign of respect and cultural awareness. It shows that you get it, that you understand the context. Getting it right builds relationships. Getting it wrong can cause genuine, albeit unintentional, offense. This is the bridge from being a mere speaker to becoming a culturally fluent communicator. Okay, we have dissected the theory. Now, let's put it into practice. A language doesn't just live on a slide. It lives in the air, in sound. It's time to make these sentences your own by really mastering their pronunciation and their flow. Let's practice with this sentence. I have an older brother. I want you to listen carefully to the tonal contour, the music of the phrase. 我有一个哥哥. Can you hear that rise and fall? It's not flat. Let's listen again slowly as I break it down for you. 我有一个哥哥. Now, let's dissect two absolutely crucial pronunciation rules that are at play here. First is a tone change. The character for one, E, is typically a high, flat first tone. However, and this is a big one, when it comes before a fourth tone character like G, it changes to a second rising tone, I, so it becomes iga. The second rule is the neutral tone. Notice the word ge. The first syllable is a clear first tone, g, but the second one is neutral. That means it's short, light, unstressed, g. A really common mistake is to pronounce it ge, with two equally stressed high tones. The correct pronunciation is ge, with the emphasis falling on that first syllable. So the process is simple. Listen, notice, and repeat. First, just listen. Hear the musicality. The incorrect flat way sounds like this. 我有一个哥哥. But the correct dynamic way sounds like this. 我有一个哥哥. Okay, now you try. Listen again and repeat after me. Focus on mimicking that flow and really executing those crucial tone changes. This is how you start to sound natural. So I'll end with this thought. We have spent this entire session unpacking just 3 basic sentences. And inside them, we found layers of grammar, history, and deep cultural values. This is the power of linguistics. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. If this much is hidden in the way a language talks about family, what kind of secrets are waiting to be discovered in something as simple as the way it says hello?